Starting us off in at number 10, Mercury. Let's begin our list with a mutant who debuted in August of 2003 in New Mutants Volume 2, Issue 2. Mercury, aka Cecily Kincaid, has the ability to mimic Mercury, hence her codename. Her body is made up of a non-toxic metal that resembles mercury, and she can reshape it or solidify at will, despite still being relatively inexperienced in shapeshifting. She can cling to solid surfaces thanks to her molecular adhesion powers, and has exhibited super strength at times, although the full extent of that strength is still undetermined. Now, she doesn't require food or water, although she does eat to make herself fit in better with others. She ended up being selected by Emma Frost to be part of her Hellion squad, along with a few other of her fellow teenage pals at the Institute, including our next number, in at 9, Rockslide. Rockslide, aka Santo Vaccaro, first debuted in 2003's New Mutants Volume 2, Issue 3, in September of that year. He's a mutant with the ability to transform into a golem form, which he does by assimilating surrounding rock and earth into a Gestalt shell, which he can also detonate at will to cause an explosion. Now, this form gives him superhuman strength, durability, and endurance. After traveling from his home of Boston to live at the Xavier Institute, he began to befriend the soon-to-be Hellions, with Emma Frost selecting him to be a part of the Hellion squad. He's also got quite the fun personality. Santo dreams of being a superhuman wrestling star. Initially, he was portrayed as a bit of a bully, but now the more that we get to know his character, the more that he's grown, becoming more good-natured and fiercely protective of his friends. He also loves murder mystery television and Dance Dance Revolution, so he's pretty relatable. It's also worth noting that he was one of the students who managed to retain his powers after M-Day.
Number 8, Thanos. Even when Thanos doesn't have his chair to help him teleport around, he's still fairly fast moving, just on foot, even being as big of a guy as he is. You may have forgotten, or you may not know this, but Thanos is actually both a Titan and a mutant. He's a mutant of the Titanian race. His feats for speed include being able to stop Thor's incoming hammer from a close range. He was fast enough to stop it with a single gesture, which is just impressive in and of itself, and being quick enough to dodge an attack from Slatteris, champion of the universe, when he was in possession of the Power Stone. Granted, not that the Power Stone makes you faster, but it's still impressive that he's just dodging those powerful hits. And Trico's pretty fast.
In at number 7, Blindfold. Blindfold is Ruth Aldine, a character who first debuted in Astonishing X-Men Volume 3, Issue 7 in 2005, despite being mentioned several months prior in the same series as Issue 4. Now, she was created by Joss Whedon and John Cassaday, and she's got some wickedly powerful abilities. She's a telepath, is capable of retrocognition, clairvoyance, precognition, reality anchoring, astral projecting, and psychic energy manifestation. Over the years, she's had some other powers that she's lost or regained, including telekinesis, chaos manipulation, and accelerated probability. Now, ever since she was a child, Ruth has worn a blindfold over her eyes in order to cover up her mutation. She was born without eyes, but has powerful psionic abilities. Now, her powers are neutralized when she's in the presence of another precognitive, like Destiny, who explained that when two precogs are in close proximity to each other, it's like they're two magnets pressed together positive pole to positive pole, negatively affecting each other's powers. These days, after Dawn of X, Ruth's predictions about her future proved to be true. She knew that there would be a utopia for most mutants, but because of her precognition abilities and Moira McTaggart's demands that no precogs be allowed on Krakoa, she was not able to join her peers. And at number 6, Bling. Roxy Washington is Bling, with an exclamation point. A mutant who attended the Xavier Institute and was a part of the X-Men in Training Squad, first appearing in X-Men Volume 2, Issue 171 in 2005. She's the daughter of a celebrity couple, two hip-hop artists named Daddy Libido and Sexy Mother. And because of this, she had often been targeted by kidnappers or assassins because of her parents' fame. She had no desire to follow in her family's footsteps, and being a mutant who had a diamond form and superhuman durability, and an ability to project diamond shards to boot, she came to the Xavier Institute and was trained under Gambit under his squad. She's also bisexual and had a big ol' crush on Rogue. I mean, who doesn't? Aside from her genius powers, she's got a genius level intellect, she's a master engineer, and at one point she was recruited for Angel's board at Worthington Industries. She's also not overly caught up in the mutant-human dynamic, she kind of prefers to just not deal with it. To each their own.
Number 5, Iceman and Pyro. Kind of the ultimate couple in a way. While Jean and Emma may be seen as the ultimate fire and ice, they have nothing on Pyro and Iceman. These two literally are fire and ice. They ended up together in X-Men Gold. Iceman officially came out of the closet a few years back, which later resulted in these two having a fling. I should clarify as well that this was Simon Lasker Pyro. Still, I wish we had got to see more of these two together. I also just like that one comes from the Brotherhood and the other is from Charles's team, although although this was during Simon's redemption time, so he wasn't really a bad guy anymore. Originally, actually, Bobby was the one who was skeptical about letting him join the Xavier Institute, but I guess he had a change of heart, because they hooked up!
In at number 4, Grey Malkin. Jumping forward a few years for this one, let's talk about Jonas Grey Malkin, a character who first appeared in Young X-Men issue 1 in June of 2008. Jonas is quite old, narratively speaking. He was born in pre-revolutionary America and spent his youth coming to terms with his sexuality, having realized that he was gay. His father caught him with another boy one day in their family's barn, and believing that Jonas was an abomination and the spawn of the devil, because he was super Christian, he beat Jonas to death, or at least he thought Jonas had died. His father buried him alive in the nearby woods, and this is what triggered Jonas's mutant powers, allowing him to survive around 200 years underground, which just so happened to be under the Xavier Institute. Turns out he's actually an ancestor of Charles Xavier's. Now when a Sentinel attack destroyed the school, he was unearthed. So, what exactly are his powers? It's something called darkness empowerment. It's related to light exposure. The darker it is, the more powerful he becomes. This includes giving him superhuman strength, nigh invulnerability, longevity, or potentially immortality on that front since he survived without food or water for 200 years, and of course, night vision.
Number 3, Apocalypse. Apocalypse's evolutionary abilities allow him to be advanced kind of across the board. He can modify his molecular structure to make himself insanely durable, strong, psychically abled, and of course super fast as well. He can move so fast he has also managed to block attacks from Thor and stop Quicksilver dead in his tracks, even going so far as to taunt Pietro, declaring that the speedster was simply no match for him, and that Quicksilver's speed was useless against him. Ooh, ugh, sick burn. He's like, your speed does nothing. Can't touch me, Quicksilver. I'm Apocalypse.
And at number 2, Brandon Sharp. Brandon Sharp, also known as Stryker, first hit the scene in August of 2010 in Avengers Academy issue 1. He has the power of electrokinesis, capable of generating huge amounts of electricity and then manipulating it. This includes creating lightning blasts from his hands and eyes, electromagnetic shields to use for defense, and he can propel himself into the air and fly via electrokinetic flight, up to 40 miles per hour. Unfortunately, he is a bit of a twat. He's a self-centered and egotistical character who's focused on his own gain rather than helping others. Brandon had a bit of a rough upbringing though. His father was an adulterous politician and his mother was fame-hungry, who made him become a child actor. Brandon's manager, Rick, tried to take advantage of the young boy, and that's where Brandon's powers first manifested, frying the limo that they were in and severely injuring Rick. And finally, in at number 1, Velocidad. Gabriel Coelho is Velocidad, a mutant who debuted in 2010 in Uncanny X-Men issue 527. He's another Generation Hope mutant who is a part of the Five Lights with Hope Summers, and kind of also had a thing with her until she caught him making out with Pixie. Unfortunately, he met his end almost 9 years later, dying in Uncanny X-Men Volume 5 issue 21. Now Gabriel is capable of doing something called localized time manipulation. He can slow down the movement of time around him, but remains unaffected by that slowdown. So it does make him appear as if he's moving incredibly fast. But really, he's not a speedster, just a time manipulator, which is what everyone actually initially thought his powers were. Now his powers speed up his aging greatly though, which is what happened after he was detained and forced to use his powers for ONE, the Office of National Emergency. He was merged with Warlock in order to keep him alive, and eventually when Wolverine came across him, he asked Logan to kill him, which the mutant did in an act of mercy. Told you it didn't end well.
Number 10, Synch and Monet. Synch and Monet met at Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters. The two students developed feelings for one another and began dating. Monet was actually very guarded still around the other mutants when it came to her abilities. The only person she ever seemed to be comfortable around at the time was Synch. The two's romance was brief however, ending almost as soon as it had started, as Everett Thomas passed away, using his powers to sync with Monet and take on her powers so that he could protect human students of the school that he was near from bombs that had been placed in the school by Emma's evil sister, Adrienne, which exploded. Although he was able to protect the other students, he was not able to protect himself and died from his injuries. Synch has since been resurrected and resurfaced in Dawn of X on Krakoa, where Monet also is. She helped in the mission to destroy the Mother Mold, but we have yet to see these two rekindle their high school flames since Synch's first death. Actually, I don't think we've really seen them interact yet, so see how that goes when they do. Though of course nothing will happen because nothing ever officially happens in Dawn of X, it's all subtext.
It's all in the subtext. Sexy, sexy subtext. Number 9. Beast and Abigail Bran. While Abigail Bran might not be considered an X-Men, she is still a mutant, and Beast is certainly an X-Men. He's been around for a real long time with the X-Men. Abigail first confessed that she had feelings for Beast near the end of the Joss Whedon run on Astonishing X-Men, also revealing that she was a mutant as well. From there, these two would date, and Abigail has even let it slip that she would like to have children with big bouncing blue Beast. They'd have big bouncing, probably green babies. Green furry babies. Number 8. Fantomex and Psylocke. These two have always had a strange relationship because it was one that no one really expected to happen. A lot of people still enjoyed it though because Psylocke and Fantomex are both really cool, badass characters, and they're both comic book hotties. And when people are both cool, we figured that's a good enough reason to ship them sometimes, so I think that's sort of where this relationship came from. After a bit of flirting in Volume 1 of Uncanny X-Men, it was later established that these two cared deeply for one another. Psylocke even met Fantomex's mom, and later it was revealed that Weapon 13, which is kind of an AI mind that is also a part of Fantomex, was deeply in love with Psylocke, so the three agreed to become one, in a romantic sense. Weapon 13, Fantomex, and Psylocke. It's a triad thing. Fantomex is weird. He is both an AI living within him and a ship for a nervous system that are both part of him, but he's also as amazing as he is complex, so there you go. I'm sorry if I didn't explain Fantomex completely right. He is a very confusing dude. Still love him though, still excited for that giant size. Giant size Fantomex, it's gonna happen! Number 7. Kitty Pryde and Star-Lord. These two first met and worked alongside each other in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, where both the Guardians and the X-Men worked together to get a young Jean Grey back from the Shi'ar. At the end of the adventure, Star-Lord gave Kitty a holographic phone, so they could keep in touch. Ooh! Their romance began to blossom as they continued to contact one another, just to chat. Eventually, they were trying to date long distance, and when Peter was kidnapped during one of their long distance dates, Kitty showed up, all the way from Earth, to rescue him. Aww. From then on, they were officially a thing. The two continued to see one another and were even engaged for a time. I kinda like them together too. I just feel like they're both kind of free spirits, they're both cool people. Number 6. Rogue and Deadpool. In a strange but kinda sweet turn of events, these two hooked up during their time together in the Uncanny Avengers in Volume 3 of the series. The two hook up after dealing with Red Skull. It seems that both members of the team had actually had a thing for one another. Wade confesses that although he's always liked Rogue, he hasn't spoken up because he wanted to protect her, but she pushes the issue, telling him that she doesn't need protection. Love when Rogue gets sassy with people. The whole thing is actually pretty sweet though. Even though I'm a long-time fan of Gambit and Rogue being together and I heavily ship that, I really liked this little momentary hookup. Later on, Rogue would sassily tell Gambit, who complained about the whole thing and how everyone called to tell him that she kissed Deadpool when they finally got back together for a mission. They were not dating at the time, by the way. That she didn't just kiss Deadpool, she made out with him, and she even insinuated that he was a better kisser than Remy. Ooh. And at number 5, Trance. Next up we have another mutant who debuted in 2005, Trance. Trance first hit the scene in New X-Men Academy X issue 12. Trance, whose name is Hope Abbott, is a mutant with a particularly interesting power. She has an energetic astral projective form in which she projects her astral self and can travel over far distances in this form, as well as avoid physical injury and can produce a disruptive energy surge. The first time her powers manifested in her hometown of Bloomfield Hills, Michigan, it looked as if a ghost had come out of her body and it actually gave her father a heart attack. She was then sent by her parents to the Xavier Institute in hopes of her being cured of this mutation. Culturally sophisticated and voted the best dressed by her classmates, Hope never really made the cut when it came to the formation of a new X-Men team, but she stayed at the Institute to train further. She has a decent amount of untapped power that she's yet to learn to control, like creating arcing energy surges that can stun foes, and bend metal or concrete.
Number 4. All the mutants? Okay, so hear me out. With Dawn of X being what it is and the nation of Krakoa emerging out of it, and with all of mutant kind coming together and so much vagueness surrounding who is with who right now, there seems to be a lot of evidence pointing towards the idea that Krakoa is just all about free love. No one has been explicitly tied to anyone, and yet all history is acknowledged, and so in a way it seems like almost everyone is tied to everyone. It just makes me think that there's a lot more partner swapping than ever happened happening on Krakoa, where no one really seems to even be fully partnered. Like everyone holds each other's hands and everybody's touching each other, and what's happening? After all, other than returning those fallen mutants that they have lost, the first law on Krakoa is to make more mutants. And I feel like they mean this in more ways than just one. That's right, people making babies on Krakoa. I said it. We haven't seen it, but I think it's happening. It's all happening off panel. I can't handle all the sexy subtext. I have so many thoughts in my brain. Number 3, Wolverine and Cyclops. Okay, so while this has never been confirmed as an official thing, in Krakoa there's been a lot of interesting flirty signals between these two. While they've always been rivals, they have also just as often been colleagues and great friends. But in the Dawn of X relaunch via subtext we get some hints that there might be more going on here. In the new giant-size Jean and Emma comic, these two both seem pretty pally while they're waiting for Jean and Emma to uncover what was wrong with Storm. They sat close together, shoulder to shoulder, smelling flowers, and while it seems like Jean and Scott are one big happy family right now on Krakoa in the newest X-Men series out of 2019, issue number 7, we see that Wolverine appears to be staying with the couple at the summer house. When Logan confides that he didn't sleep great to Scott, Scott responds saying that he understands what that is like for Logan, with all the hair and dealing with being both too hot and then too cold, with and without covers. As though he's shared a bed with Logan before. This is like a weird thing to know about someone. Then they talk about Logan potentially joining him and Jean and the kids on a vacation. While Logan seems excited at the prospect of Jean in a bikini, he also seems somewhat interested at the idea of Scott in a Speedo. Well, there's always been some weird love triangle involving these two and Jean. In Dawn of X, it seems ever more prominent. So I think they might be together in some kind of strange triad. I'm for it, I ship it, I like it. Number 2, Emma Frost and Jean Grey. Emma and Jean just recently had their giant size together, which by the way was one of the prettiest comics I have ever read. I know it's early, but there is already talk of it being considered one of the most beautiful comic issues out of this year. Shout out to Russell Dodderman for this amazing art, by the way. So alongside this comic being gorgeous, the story was also compelling, and in it we got hints of just where these two ladies might be at in their relationship. Jean and Emma have always been seen as opposites, and have spent a lot of time in the comics arguing over Scott. But even though they're opposite in a lot of ways, they're also similar in a lot of ways. And in Dawn of X it seems like they're ready to bury the hatchet, and maybe even all be in a relationship with Scott? Jean and Emma have some really intimate touches in their giant size, and have had some playful banter surrounding a compliment that Jean gives to Emma on her shoes. All in all, nothing is explicitly said here, but like with Logan and Scott, there is a lot of subtext between these two ladies. And I just feel like maybe there's something happening with them and Scott too? I don't know. And then like, do these two triangles overlap? Is it just one big circle? What's happening? I'm into it, I'm just, what's going on? Number 1, Cable and X-23. In volume 2 of Fallen Angels, these two have been playing the flirting game pretty ferociously. And while kind of a weird pairing, I like them together. It's also kind of cute that they are both offspring of two other often rivals and kind of besties, Logan and Scott. It only makes their whole potential relationship cuter. These two are constantly watching out for one another, and when they join Psylocke's team of butterflies in Fallen Angels, Laura Kinney originally doesn't even want Nathan on the team. She's worried for his safety, revealing that she cares about him, although she pretends she's not interested in him. Just cute. I'd be interested to see the going-ons between these two off panel, because there's definitely some chemistry there. Number 10, Quicksilver. Okay, so I know Pietro is no longer considered a mutant, and that he and his sister were both retconned out of that realm. But I think that we can still all acknowledge and respect that for a long time he was known as the fastest mutant out there. In fact, the X-Men films made him so fast that many even questioned, why would you have anyone else on that team? Why is that even necessary? Quicksilver could do anything. If you have Evan Peters Quicksilver around, you just need a team of one. He was just ridiculously fast. For him, time stood still. Now granted, as I said, he's no longer considered a mutant, but I could do a top 10 list about all of the plot holes that retcon created, so please just let me have this one spot in memory of how awesome of a mutant Quicksilver once was. I mean, he's still an awesome character, of course, but he's no longer a mutant. Which is why he gets the number 10 spot. Number 9, Gambit. When it comes to reflexes, Gambit has to be one of the fastest mutants around. Remy LeBeau has insanely fast and high-level reflexes when it comes to dodging all kinds of projectiles, laser beams, and, well, just about anything that you can throw his way. This is due to the fact that Remy was raised in the Thieves Guild and was trained at a young age to become one of the most agile thieves around. He is also, of course, trained with the X-Men in the Danger Room to work on honing his skills. And he can even use his mutant powers to tap into energy and use it to enhance his own speed.
Moving on to number 8, Armor. Armor, aka Hisako Akichi, is a Japanese mutant who first appeared in October of 2004 in Astonishing X-Men issue 4. Her mutant powers are pretty rad. She has the ability to generate an impenetrable psionic exoskeleton body armor that gives her superhuman strength, reflexes, agility, endurance, stamina, dexterity, durability, and invulnerability. Not too shabby, huh? Her goal was always to become an X-Man, and she went through some pretty traumatic stuff while she was a student at Xavier's. After the alien villain Ord attacked the school, her best friend Wing had been injected with a cure for his mutant ability, and eventually he committed suicide because of it, with Armor, along with Kitty Pryde and other students at the time, all being trapped inside the Danger Room with his reanimated corpse. That happened when the room became sentient and hostile towards them, so not a good experience for her, needless to say.
Number 7, Nightcrawler. Okay, so yes, Nightcrawler is a teleporter, and I know I said I was going to try to not go there, so I'm kind of cheating a little bit here by including him, but even ignoring his teleportation powers, which would of course place him at the tippy top of this list, Kurt is still pretty fast even without them. Nightcrawler has been fast enough to dodge closer range bullets from what appear to be a small Gatling or a machine gun, and has been shown to be capable of outrunning Danger Room missiles. Spider-Man has even said before that Nightcrawler's agility and reflexes rival even his own, which is pretty impressive because Spider-Man's pretty quick. Number 6, Cannonball. Sam Guthrie is a fan favorite when it comes to the world of X-Men and mutants. His abilities allow him to summon a force field while moving at superhuman speeds. He can fly and use his force field to shield himself and others or attack with it. He has been shown to move within a fraction of a second, managing to distract Quicksilver long enough to catch him off guard. He also constantly manages to react fast enough to protect himself and others against surprise explosions, gunfire, and psychic attacks. And he's also managed to move fast enough to outmaneuver the skilled fighter and fellow X-Men member Psylocke, which is pretty impressive. She's a pretty skilled fighter and pretty quick. Number 5, Speed. Some think it's possible Speed could even end up being faster than Quicksilver. Speed is Thomas Shepard, a mutant who comes to us from the original roster of the Young Avengers. While we don't quite know how fast he can run, we know that he can move at least at speeds of Mach 4. That's the same speed as sound, and means he can cover almost 5,000 kilometers, or just over 3,000 miles per hour. That is fast. His heightened speed also dramatically increases his reaction time when it comes to his reflexes and his agility in a fight. Number 4, Magneto. Maybe not the guy you'd originally have thought of when you thought of a fast mutant. You may have not come into this list being like, I bet Magneto will be on it. But you better believe it, Magneto is speedier than you initially thought he was. He is fast enough to catch a bullet and even catch and stop multiple ones before they can hit when targeted by multiple guns at close range. And sure, his whole mutant powers are magnetism, so we could say he's fast, but only with this specific power set. But even then, we'd kind of be wrong. He's not only been able to react fast enough, granted using his powers, to stop Quicksilver from getting away, but he was also fast enough to momentarily catch Northstar with his bare hands, whose speed could, in theory, approach the speed of light. In theory. More on that later.
Moving on to number 3, Transonic. Transonic, also known as Laurie Tremette, debuted in July of 2010 in Uncanny X-Men issue 526. She is a mutant with supersonic flight, capable of not only propelling her body through the air at transonic speeds, but also can change her physical properties in order to have better maneuverability in the air, which she does at higher altitudes or when traveling at high speeds. She's been able to make herself look like a large flying fish or a missile. When Laurie first appeared in Uncanny X-Men, she was a blue teenager. Quite literally. having difficulty coping with her mutation. When the X gene manifested in her, it took no real form, but it caused her skin to change color, for her to lose her hair, and gave her flu-like symptoms. So she tried to commit suicide by jumping off a building, but in doing so, it actually activated her powers. Eventually, she joined up with Hope Summers as one of the 5 Lights, becoming a prominent character in the Generation Hope series. Now, aside from her powers, she's an incredibly smart and thoughtful mutant, citing logic as the rationale for her actions, and getting annoyed at her teammates when they confuse things like ethics and morals. She's also Canadian, so...
Number 2, Aurora. Jean-Marie Boubier is the twin sister of Northstar Jean-Paul Boubier. She is known for her time as a member of the Canadian hero team Alpha Flight, where she was an integral part of the team. Her powers are identical to her brother's, making her capable of potentially nearing the speed of light. Potentially. However, she did have her body at one point molecularly restructured by a Dr. Langowski, which resulted in a slight reduction to her speed, unfortunately. Though Aurora is still faster than the speed of sound, she's no longer chasing the speed of light like her brother potentially can. Number 1, Northstar. Were you surprised by this or not? And of course, finally, Northstar. Northstar was one of the few mutants at the time when Quicksilver was still considered a mutant, who could have potentially rivaled him as being one of the fastest mutants out there, as well as one of the fastest characters within the Marvel Universe, period. Like his twin sister, Jean-Paul was also a valued member of Alpha Flight, and even spent some time on the X-Men roster as well, though he was initially hesitant to join, as he thought they might just want him for marketing reasons, being that he is one of the few openly gay mutants. But they assured him that his skills, abilities, and his attitude were more what they were after. His abilities allow him to use kinetic energy to increase the speed of his entire body, or just parts of his body. In theory, he could potentially move near to the speed of light, Mach 1, but we've never seen him do so, likely because of how much strain it would put on him physically as well as mentally, and the fact that doing so could actually harm those in his vicinity. Still, the fact that it could even be possible makes him pretty fast, and even without it, even if he doesn't approach the speed of light, he's still one of the fastest around.